Howdy fellas, welcome back to Level Up Producing, where today we will be doing a beat into a song for level 5. Wow, we got to 5. That was crazy. So in levels 2 to 4, we've been creating this lo-fi beat, and this beat has been going for 6 bars. Now, we need to be able to do a bit more than 6 bars. 6 bars is not a song. 6 bars is like, I don't know, Friday night. But, and we need to do something more with that. We need to do some things to it, make some things bigger, smaller, fatter, wider, minor, sad, happy, whatever, and do stuff with it so it's an actual song that it goes for, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes, and then we can say, hey, we freaking made a song. I've come up with something I'm gonna call the big 3. The big 3 things that you can do to take a small idea, a small loop, a small beat, and make it big. This is going to be the last of our Tutorial Island series. Beyond that, we're going to go crazy. Let's finish off this lo-fi beat, shall we? And, oh my goodness. Let's talk through the big 3. The first of the big 3 is going to be called contrasting ideas. And the big thing I wanted to complement or contrast with was our lead. That's the main guy, right? That's the heart and soul of the Office thing. I wanted to look at that and see what kind of ideas I could come up with that sort of contrasted with that. The first thing I kind of came up with, we've got this chordal backing that's kind of like happy. You know, we got that C major 7 and then we got that F major 7. Nice and happy. And then I was like, well, you could kind of make it sad. And that's where I came up with this stuff over here. Completely different vibe, adds a bit of flavor, you know? The next idea I came up with, after coming up with the sad idea, was I was mucking around with just different sounds. I was just mucking around with different sounds on Logic to see what kind of things I was mucking around with some synths, and I found like this synth sound. I came up with that sound, right? And I was mucking around with it and just sort of jamming along with the lead, and I came up with this little motif. Happy little jaunt. Those were the 2 different ideas I came up with there. And then that sort of sparked what goes into the next of the big 3, which is structure or sections, right? I had those 2 ideas as a starting point, and I was like, okay, where can I put these? In Logic, if you go up here and click this little button, you'll see I've created a bunch of these different sections. These sections are super helpful in just organizing your thoughts, organizing what's going to go where, compartmentalizing when you're going in different sections and mixing in different sections and things like that. Hit this little plus thing, it'll create a marker, and then you've got different sections or whatever. I started with calling our original beat the chorus and the little intro leading up to that the intro, and then I was like, well, I'm probably going to want a chorus at the end, so I created a marker out here, chucked out the same original idea, and then we added some extra stuff, but we'll get there later. Then I was like, well, I want to put that synth idea somewhere, and it kind of sounds like a little bit of a build idea, so that could be the build up until the final chorus, and then I've got that synth idea in this build bit, and then I was like, well, right before that I'll probably have an edgy B section, which is that minor idea that we were talking about before, this guy. So that's going to sit there. Before that, I was like, well, I've got this chorus, and it felt a bit too sharp and sudden to go straight from the chorus into that edgy B section. So I was like, oh, well, maybe we'll put an extra 8 bars in here and we'll do something else. And then later I figured out, well, maybe I'll just chuck a piano solo in there, you know? It's got just a bit of floaty piano. And then basically that was the whole structure, right? Got the intro, the chorus, a piano solo, edgy B section with the minor side of it. A build through that, and then just coming back to the chorus at the end. And that was the main structure. 2 out of the big 3, we're done. And finally, we come to the third thing of our big 3. We've just taken some contrasting ideas, we've structured them out, and we get to this last element, which I'm just going to call spice. So spice is just, you're going into each of the different sections, and you're thinking, what can I do for this section to make it a bit spicier? What can I add here? What can I take away here? What can I add as a transition from this section into the next? Things like that. That's what I'm kind of thinking of at this level. So obviously in the intro to the chorus, I didn't change anything. I removed some of the dialogue in the intro. That was just because it was getting a bit busy. Transitioning from the chorus into this piano solo section, I was like, oh, it's a bit too heavy if I have the drums in there, so I took out the drums. And then I also had a bit of a longer dialogue going on in this bit of a transition.
People say I am the best boss. They go, God, we've never worked in a place like this before. You're hilarious.
You really feel that shift of section, you know? And then at the end of this piano solo section, I added a bit more
That
drums
pretty much sums it up.
because what I wanted to do is build a bit of tension
Spencer gives.
going into this next edgy B section, into that minor section. But I also wanted to make sure harmonically it made sense to go from that piano happy section into the sad section. So all I did there was a couple of different breaks, but the important thing is just that chord in the pads right there. So I was playing an E chord right before that A chord to really set it up. Then I get to the edgy B section. Then I was like, okay, what can I do with this edgy B section? Yeah, to make it really edgy. So I've got this chords that I've set up here. And that's kind of the minor backdrop, right? And then I was like, what can I add to that to really carry the melodic line at this point? Because the melody's still here. But I wanted something extra. So you'll see in the middle here, I've added a trumpet. So there's a little bit of a trumpet solo happening. Anyway, so then I do a trumpet solo over the top of that, and there's a bit of a build. And then right in the middle here is I've got the trumpet actually taking the melodic line, taking it over there. You'll hear it when I play it later. Don't want to ruin the surprise. Anyway, through this build, I just started stacking in the different instruments as we go. So I got the pad in here, then I add in the sub, then I add in the drums, I added some more pads there, you know, things like that. And you're sort of building so that when we land on this final chorus, it hits a bit bigger. I needed some sort of like riser, I guess they're called, where it's like shh. You know, one of those things. Kind of like a backwards cymbal. I was looking in what Apple Loops had to offer, and they had this thing called Level Up Riser. This guy. Just a simple like shh. And it's called Level Up Riser. I mean, it's too good. Had to do it. And then in that final chorus as well, to make it a bit different to the original chorus, added a bit of spice there. I added in the trumpet solo from before, and I added in the piano solo from before, and they're sort of trading. So they're sort of going back and forth. So it's sort of like bringing the story to the close. You got the piano solo, then you got the trumpet solo, then they're hanging out together. That's what happens when you add the big three, right? Take an original idea with some small ideas and you turn it into something bigger. The other thing that I did throughout this whole thing, because it's lo-fi, it's kind of typical of the genre, I sprinkled in little dialogue samples here and there. So with the big three done, you've got contrasting ideas stemming from the original idea. You've got taking those ideas, turning them into sections. And then you've got adding some spice into those sections, making them feel fleshed out, making them transition between one another, adding a bit of dynamic variation, contrasting sections, and then you get a full beat. So, here's the full beat.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Boss. They go, God, we've never worked in a place like this before. You're hilarious. And you get the best out of us. I think that pretty much sums it up. I found it at Spencer Gives. You cheated on me? Not to.
You consider this my retirement income.
Did I stutter? from here on out, we can no longer be friends.
Det starter.
Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
People say I am the best boss.
Wow, that is really hard. You really think you can go all day long? Well, you always left me satisfied smiling.
That's what she said.
Michael, please.
There's a few things in there I'd really like to improve on in future levels. We're probably going to come back to them, circle back. One of the things I definitely want to investigate is general width and fullness in the track. I felt like different bits didn't feel as full and fat as I wanted to, particularly in the edgy B section. It didn't really hit as hard as I wanted, you know? And that kind of ties into the next thing, which is just like levels. I really battled, particularly with the trumpet, to not sort of explode the mix. There was lots of like weird compression stuff I did that I didn't really understand. And then when I bounced the track, when you like go to bounce a track, which is just when you like export it, right? You can do this thing called normalize, and it sounded really weird when I didn't have normalize on and I had to put it on. Otherwise the mix sounded different to how it's playing back now. So I'm going to investigate that in a future level. But the third thing that I really wanted to focus on is I want to make it sound good on all different devices. Right now it sounds pretty good on my headphones, but I have this like little Amazon Dot thing. It didn't really sound great through that. I went to my car, did the car test, and it didn't sound as good there either. It's kind of muddy. In future levels, I'm going to investigate how to make your mixes sound good on all different devices, not just your headphones. Anyway, future levels. That's Tutorial Island done. That's level 5 done. We've taken a beat. We've turned it into a full track. It's like a 3-minute track now. That's pretty mad. Hitting that disc. Yo! Alright, level 5. Level 5. Very nice. And that concludes the Tutorial Island segment of Level Up Producing. We've created this lo-fi beat. Going from here, we're going to be creating a song with live instruments. Whoa! Live instruments. We're going to be thinking through vocals, guitars, bass, drums, horns. How do you create production for creating a cover song? Is where we're going next in our next little series. And for those playing at home, it's going to be a deep dive of how me and a couple buddies created this September video. So get keen for that. Until then, subscribe and bye. Bye-bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye now.